Is Dabo cooked?
Okay. Probably. I mean, we've talked about this for a couple of years now, right? So
Yeah.
here's actually something important about college football that I'm going to change this offseason, Gabe. And I've started to do a little bit of it. So one thing that we do to preview a team in upcoming season, we look at returning production, right? Guys coming back from last season that helped you produce, right? Whether it was snaps or stats, whatever it was. Like they played last year, they're back again the next season. And it's often a barometer at the top of the list for which teams might be good to start the season. Actually, what I'm not going to change at the bottom of the list, teams that return no production, they do stink to start the season. Like that's a real thing. But the top of the production was Clemson, I think number one in the country in offensive returning production. Even a team like Illinois that returned their entire offensive line, their quarterback, their offensive line has not played really well. The thing with returning production, Gabe, is there's basically two ways to look at it, right? Three. Super young team that just got lucky in a given year where a lot of young guys played, and then they're playing the next season. That's rare. That happens very rare in college football. The ones that happen more often are this, right? Everyone comes back to win a championship. Ohio State did that last year. 2 years ago, Washington did that. Michigan has done that. I'm hoping my Ducks this offseason can convince guys to stay there for a little bit longer. It's like we have all these pro guys. They want, with NIL now, we can afford to keep guys around. We're chasing a championship. The other returning production for older teams is they're just not good enough to go to the NFL, Gabe. And so they just stick around a little bit longer, one more year. And that's not all of Clemson, but does feel like that's a lot of the returning production offensively. It's like just dudes that are good college players, not pro guys, not really dynamic enough to change games. They all came back, and the offense just looks like poo because, honestly, a lot of times those older guys that are just sticking around the program, the coach is going to play them because they trust them, but they're not better than the young guys. So that's where they're at, I think. They're just not as good as we thought. We got fooled by this returning production. I'll give you one more example. By the way, Oklahoma State last season had the oldest offense in the country. They were 0-9 in conference play last season. So I'm sort of off returning production. I think it does not matter offensively anymore. Defensively, there's still room for debate on that one. So that's my takeaway. Is like this returning production thing. The reason why we hyped up Clemson is probably not the best way to evaluate teams moving forward.
That's one of the smartest things I've heard in a long time. I'm being sincere. I now need to look at the whole of football with that lens, and I guess
College
it's
football.
yeah, college football. It's a perfect segue then for me to ask, well, right, so Miami? Like, what do I don't know either to take them seriously or not, and now that you told me all that, I'm wondering.
They're really good.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they're legit. And they but they didn't have a ton of returning production. Like they brought their quarterback, transfer quarterback, their youngest skill position players, and they brought in 5 new secondary pieces where they are good. And why I love Miami right now is they built themselves the way you have to build to win championships. They got young 4- and 5-star offensive and defensive linemen who have matured, Gabe, and are now kicking ass. That's the way it works to win to build champions. I believe their center's a transfer guy. The 4 of their offensive linemen are all guys that have not drafted, developed. I keep using that term, but recruited and developed. And then you look at their defense, their pass rush might be the best in the country just overall. It's, again, guys that they brought in, developed, and you need the backbone of your team has to be those guys. You need those guys that are like, that bleed like your school, right? That have been in the weight program and been with the strength coach and been with the coaches for years and get their chance to play, that have just been waiting to play, and their ability to just have those guys and they're all just sort of taking off at the same time, dude, is very impressive. And they're legitimately good. Like I think right now are the best team in the country at the moment. Ohio State's up there, obviously, but they're playing some really good football, and I credit them for building the right way, in my opinion.
So they go to Tallahassee in 2 weeks, which
should be fun.
Will be the game that everyone pays attention to that week, I assume.
Yeah.
If they get through that week, then we just have to elevate them to scariest team in the country. That's what you're saying.
I think so, yeah. Well, again, like the things they do well, rush the passer and block for the quarterback and run the football. Like those things carry every week.